So let's get started. We're opening the new open mic series with Data Converged and Mohsin Sumar. Hello, Mohsin. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Kate. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Yourself?
Great. So in this session, Mohsin Sumar will show how TrackMIS, a solution integrated with Wialon, helps service providers break service costs down per unit and link them to subscription revenue. Also, today's webinar is being recorded. The recording will be published later on our YouTube channel, and I also share the links in our partner chats. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to post them in the chat, and Maxine will be happy to answer them after the presentation. All right, let's begin. Maxine, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Kate. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohsin from Data Converged. We work closely with tracking providers who use Wialon. So over time, there is one thing that we have noticed that service costs such as while on bills that you may receive or your data provider's bills that you may receive are generally paid as one lump sum bill to your providers. But these bills are rarely analyzed in detail. So one of the features that we built in TrackMIS was to specifically analyze cost service and figure out where wastage occurs. So before we get into that specific feature, a little bit of an overview on a brief introduction on what TrackMIS is. TrackMIS is a business operations platform built specifically for tracking and IoT companies. While Wialon focuses, as everybody in this webinar knows, devices and telematics operations, how the units work and report data. TrackMIS focuses on managing subscriptions, costs, profitability, basically the part that nobody likes to do day-to-day basis. But that's what we focus on to help partners understand whether each unit is eventually contributing to your bottom line, to your business, to your profitability. So the way we do this is generally looking at, like, let's say, um, so let's say if you're a partner having a few hundred or a few thousand units, these units are generally either active, suspended, terminated. Maybe somebody has stopped paying for the service and so on. However, the service costs that you usually receive from the provider are paid as a single monthly bill. So this makes it very difficult for you to know where money is being wasted. Maybe the services that you are paying for are no longer contributing to your revenue. So to help break these costs down, the feature that we will be looking through today allows you, by using TrackMIS, to import and allocate those costs to your revenue generating products. So even when you have accurate billing, your costs can quietly start leaking, either through, like I mentioned, a customer not paying or keeping those services active, or maybe the contracts have expired, but nobody has manually suspended those units on the provider platforms. So with this, there is often no clear accountability at a unit level. Has this unit stopped giving us revenue, whereas we are still incurring costs from it? Our objective here with this feature was to allow the partners to have a unit level profitability. TrackMIS addresses this by importing Wialon cost data. So let's say you have a Wialon bill of maybe $1,000 and you have 500 units. So by just averaging that out, the cost per unit is about two. So what we do here is allocate those costs per unit and linking these costs by cross-referencing uh, subscription status and revenue. This makes cost wastage visible and allows partners to make better commercial decisions, including things like renegotiating pricing, um, suspensions, service optimization. How can we perform the service better? And eventually, the overall profitability of your business. So, so now let's spend a few minutes to look at a quick example of how this works in practice. I will just switch my screen over to a demo. Give me a minute. So here we go. This is what TrackMIS looks like. We have a lot of functionalities in TrackMIS. More specifically, what we are focusing on today is the cost of service module that we built to help analyze costs. The way this works, as explained before, is we need to gather the data from Wialon, for example. And in this particular example that I am showing, let's say we have just 5 units in our Wialon bill. These are the IMEIs of each and the average cost per unit as an example. On TrackMIS, we would go over the finance module into cost of service on the left menu. And we would start the process by clicking on the button on the top right, new cost of service. We would have to define the start date and the end date of the bill. So let's say your provider has given you a bill for the month of December, and that's where we would select that. 1st December to 31st of December. You choose your provider. This could be Wialon, FSP, maybe some telcos, some providers, data providers. So in this case, let's say Wialon. And let's say the provider's bill date, the invoice date that you have received is perhaps the 2nd of January 2026. You'd choose currency. In this example, I'm just going to pick euros. And let's say the invoice number, for example. You would then upload the file and let TrackMIS do the rest. So the process for us over here is when you import it for the first time, TrackMIS takes it over to start analyzing. Depending on how many units you have, this can take a few minutes to maybe 5-10 minutes to complete. And once that's completed, there we go. This one had a few units, so that's analyzed already. And this report then tells us your provider's bill, details that you inputted earlier, what the total was, how much is the waste in here, as well as the percentage. So in this process data that we see at the bottom of the screen, what TrackMIS has done here is it has gone through all your subscription data and identified that only one unit is truly being billed for. It's currently active, but all the remaining IMEIs, for example, do not exist. If they were suspended, then TrackMIS would tell you that these customers have perhaps stopped paying and we are still being charged for. So what this process allows us to do, or allows partners to do, is figure out how can they either reach out to these um, units or investigate these units. It could be perhaps they are test units in your offices that perhaps could be removed to avoid being charged for. They could be old units that are no longer working, for example. But also, if these units belong to customers that have not been billed for, then you can reach out to them and figure out whether they want to continue the service or um, terminate them. So essentially, this module allows partners to do exactly that. And that's a small pie in the overall TrackMIS.
Thank you
Switch
so much.
back to the presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's how we turn raw data that we would get from um, partners, let's say through this tool, and create a value into something actionable that you no longer just pay the bills, but you have some insights that you can manage and control your costs down. Um, that's all from my side. Thank you, Kate, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mohsin. Yeah, we have one question from the audience. So when does service cost wastage usually become noticeable? At hundreds of units or at thousands? Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so in most cases, partners would rely on Wialon's invoice, for example, um, as a total number. So in this particular case, it's really tricky, but perhaps the audience could also jump in. Um, Once you have a few hundred or thousands of units, I think you'd probably start noticing that maybe you are paying a lot more. And all these small bills, let's say you have forgotten to remove certain numbers of units, they start adding up. So the larger the operation, the more these inefficiencies add up. And without seeing or analyzing per unit visibility, this can go unnoticed until margins are under pressure.
Thank you. And we have another one. Can we configure the waste parameters and their values?
Yes, thank you, Adil. So in the case of waste parameters, at the moment we have it based purely on the subscription status. So if the customer is not being billed for or if it's suspended, that's what we consider as a waste parameter. The values itself is something that you would generally import into the process. I hope that answers your question.
Adil? Oh, yep. Thank you. So another question. How much effort is typically required to start analyzing service cost wastage using existing Wialon billing data?
So I would say probably, maybe I'm biased, but 10-15 minutes of your time. Once you get the Wialon invoice, and um, all you need to do is export your list out from Wialon and put it into the format displayed in the demo. So probably 10,
Mhm.
15 minutes, and TrackMIS can do the rest for you.
Sounds great. So anyone else? It seems we don't have any questions. So thank you so much, Mohsin, for your time today. and for answering our questions. I'm really appreciate your time and the presentation you did. And of course, thanks to everyone who joined our open mic session. As I told you, the recording will be shared in a few days. So you'll be able to rewatch it or just share with your colleagues. Thank you so much and see you in 2 weeks at the next open mic session. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Bye.
very much, Kate.